Hello and welcome to the channel. So first of all, why I decided to try Coolify, a bit of a story. So I was running my hobby project in DigitalOcean and it was quite low on resources. So I was looking for alternatives, and over the years DigitalOcean was getting a bit more and more expensive. And I believe nowadays the Hetzner is a great cheap hosting solution, right? So let's see, if we look into their pricing, we see the CX22, which is 2 CPU, 4 gigs of RAM, and 40 gigabytes of SSD, which is decent, right? And it's just for €4. You add like extra 54 or something like that for the IPv4 if you need it. But it's still pretty cheap in terms of resources that you get. But that wasn't the only problem. That the cost wasn't the only problem. I deployed that. I was running this hobby project for many years, like I believe more than 10 years now, and the pipelines and the infrastructure that I set up was a long time ago. And I would call it quite naive. I was building the Docker image in the GitHub Actions, and then I need to manually update the tag in a Docker Compose file, commit that, go to the SSH to the instance, pull the changes, and then run the apply. So that was really manual, and I just realized it stops me from doing the changes. You know, you want to change some small fix, like fix a bug or whatever, and this manual process of deployment just stops you. So I decided to combine two things, improve the costs and improve the developer experience. So I didn't really want to replicate the same flow as I had in DigitalOcean on Hetzner instance. So I was looking for the alternatives, how to do better pipelines, and that's how I learned about the Coolify. So it is an open source project that you basically self-host like Heroku or Versal alternative in terms of UI, but you can deploy whatever you want. So basically there are two options. You can build your stuff with Nix packs, or you can fall back to just a Dockerfile build. But we'll cover that in a sec. So let's see. If you create a Hetzner instance, I believe nowadays you can just select the Coolify as a pre-installed application. I didn't know about that, but the manual installation was simple enough. You just go to your instance and run this command, and that's it. You basically you need Docker, and then Coolify will just work. So after installation, it will give you the link, basically your IP address of your host instance, and then I believe by default it's 8000 port. And this is how the dashboard looks. So now you have project, servers, etc. For me, I was particularly interested in a single server deployment, but Coolify can manage multiple services if you want, servers if you want. Sorry. So the next thing that was really impressive is that my application needs a Postgres database, and I was running Postgres in Docker as well as part of my Docker Compose deployment. Here, it is really nice because you can just go to your resources, and then if you click New, you'll see a bunch of stuff that you can just enable. And for the databases, a lot of options, and then a huge list of services that could be installed on your server. So for me, it was Postgres. And I was a bit skeptical at first that it will just work, but you just pick the defaults and set default params like master password, etc. And you basically have a running database in no time. And then you can expose it to outside. You can connect from your local machine, run migrations, do whatever you want, check what's inside. So that was really nice. The other thing is that I always a bit worried if something goes wrong. I just need a backup of my database, right? If you self-host, that's my biggest worry, like what happens if your instance is lost or something like that. But Coolify just provides an option to enable backups out of the box. The only thing you need is configure one of the S3 storages, and it's not only AWS S3, it basically almost any S3 compatible storage. But for me, I was using AWS account for backups, and I just configured this thing. You basically create access key and secret key, pretty standard, and put it here, and then you test your connection. It just works, and after that you can use this storage in your database for the automatic backups. So if I go to here, my database, backups, and you can see I have a scheduled backup, and it will use my S3 storage as the destination. So far so good, right? But what about actually deploying your application, right? It's also really simple. I believe almost everyone nowadays just use GitHub, right, for the source of our projects. And to create a new one, you just go here, and in my case, it was a private repository, and it will just ask you to authenticate with a GitHub app, and then you can just give fine-grained permissions to the repo that you're interested in. And it will be able to listen to things like new commits. And for example, in my case, I just configured to run the deployment pipeline each time I have a new commit in the master branch, which makes sense, I believe. So yeah, that worked. In terms of build options, right? By default, it's using Nix packs, which was new to me, but basically it's like an alternative how you build your packages. And I tried that, so Nix packs, right? So this thing, you can learn about it a bit here. In my case, I'm running Clojure, and it just works. It basically auto-detects if you have a project CLJ or build CLJ in terms if you use deps.edm, and then it tries to build your project based on these defaults. Annoyingly, it's Java 8 by default, but you can easily change it by setting the env to something else. In my case, I switched back to use Docker file as the build option. It's just because I have a quite complex Docker file. It's building some Elm application for me. It's building Tailwind, and then it's building obviously the Clojure app into Java Uberjar, and runs it in the Java runtime. So I didn't want to spend much time trying to figure out how to do that in Nix packs. But if you just change your config to use Docker instead of Nix pack, you see here build pack. It is Docker or Nix pack. If you just use Docker file and you have the Docker file in your project, it will just work. So that's about the builds. And actually, I have a small commit ready, so I can do git push master. And if we go back, yeah, it's already here. You see, it's instant, and a deployment started here. And we can see the progress. So yeah, that's about the deployments. So what else? A common feature that you need, and you see the stuff similar in like Vercel or other providers, is that you can set envars or secrets and you don't need to think about where I store my secrets, because usually like even a private repo in GitHub is not a great option for storing secrets. So yeah, that's these secrets will be exposed to your application in runtime inside the Docker container. This is good. What else we're missing? Yeah, so you have your deployment. It will run on some port. You need to expose it outside to the internet. And usually you want a secure SSL connection. And in my previous deployment, I was just self-hosting, running a Docker container for the Kadi or traffic myself that can do the Let's Encrypt cert generation automatically. But here it is just inside the Coolify itself. So there is in the server, there is a proxy, and this proxy is basically traffic, I believe. And if you specify domain for your application in your config right here, where is it? Yeah, here we go. Domains, custom domain. It will try to generate a Let's Encrypt cert for you, and it worked out of the box without any problems. Other cool feature is that you can enable basic monitoring on your server. So like it's metrics here, and then you see CPU and memory, and I think somewhere there is a disk usage as well. Also, Coolify is doing some housekeeping for you. For example, if you have deployments and you have some old unused Docker images cached on your server, they'll be automatically removed. In addition to these basic metrics, there is a way to configure, to view logs. First of all, you just go to a project, and then there's a logs tab. You can basically view the logs, runtime logs of your application in the Coolify UI. If that's not enough, you can configure the log drains, which I haven't done so far, but you can use New Relic or this Axiom thing. You just provide like a keys, API keys here. In addition to that, you can configure multiple ways of notifications about the infrastructure and some events. For me, I use Telegram as my messenger, so I created a new bot and edit it to some private chat, and then I'll receive notifications about successful or failed deployments, and as you can see here, a bunch of stuff happening on the server, which is quite nice to know that things are okay or not. There is also email. I tried to configure that. You need to configure transactional email with resend, I believe. The only thing I'm missing, I need to validate that I own the domain, because to send email from a particular address, you need to do some configuration in the DNS to validate that you own the domain. The things I haven't tried, but could be useful for other people is, as I already mentioned, probably multi-server deployment. So you have, for example, Coolify installed on one of the hosts that you have, and then you can connect other servers to be managed by the main one. And in that case, you can distribute your applications, like configure multiple instances running on different hosts, etc. For me, it's enough. A single instance is enough. Other option is to use Coolify as in a cloud. It's not. You basically don't get any servers in this case, but you'll have this Coolify UI, and then you can connect 2 servers for $5 per month, or like $3 per additional server. But it's not like you you don't getting the server, right? You're getting the connection, right? So you still need, as it says here, you still need your own servers from any providers like Hessner, DigitalOcean, etc. But if you deploying some serious project, you probably this could be a nice idea to have the deployment UI hosted for you. And finally, for a lot of people, this is a killer feature. Something like Vercel provides, or other providers, I believe, is preview branches. So instead of having just main environment, right, like production for me, you can configure development branch, for example, or any branch really, and then your application will be built on the Coolify for that environment, deployed, and then you have a separate link to view it running before you merge into it into the master. So yeah, that's it. A cool thing about my experience with Coolify is that everything just worked, and it's quite impressive. I believe nowadays you feel a bit worried even if that's so smooth, but whatever I tried so far, it just worked. So I created database really quickly. I was able to configure backups when I connected my GitHub application to private repo. It just started building the pipeline for me. It deployed, no problem. I was able to set envars. Then when I set a custom domain, and cert was issued, and SSL connection worked for my custom domain. And yeah, notifications, etc. So I'm really pleased so far with the experience. So if you're looking for a nice option to deploy your next project, or you want to improve your existing deployments, I really recommend Coolify, and maybe in combination with Hetzner, because it's like a cheap option for the resources. That's it. Let me know what you think. Also, feel free to leave your own experiences with Coolify in comments, and see you next video. Bye bye.